actually with us, but he's with us. Welcoming on the stage, Marcos Torres Miller. The Global Sales Director of Trunk Hotels, UAE. Someone with a panache over a lifetime to launch international hotels, 5-star luxury hotels across the world for brands like Fairmont, Rocco Forte, and Kempinski. And also, he says, one of his favoriteest experiences of launching a hotel was the one in Slovenia, in Slovenia's first 5-star hotel in Portorož. It's an honor to have you with us. Meeting yet another leader in hospitality. Please join me in welcoming Matthij Regelink. Welcoming Matthij, the chairman of the board of directors and chief executive officer of not just the host hotel, the ground we stand on, this absolutely majestic property, but the group of Union Hotels. Welcoming a slice of Malaysia, please join me in welcoming this potent packet, Mr. Sunil Hasmukrai, coming all the way from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, the chief strategist at HC Consultants, the president of the Malaysian Association of Professional Trainers and Coaches. It's a pleasure to have this speaker who delivered his first international address when he was 17 years old at the United Nations. It's a privilege. Men talking about business collaborations with women colleagues. Let's unravel it, shall we? Shall we? Yes, thank you. Please join me in welcoming once again Marcos Torres Miller onto the table. All yours.
Thank you. All right. Speaking time, good. We're 7 minutes. Yesterday evening, I tried to get to the first floor at the town hall, and the security guy stopped me and said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to the event on the first floor." He said, "You can't go." And then I said, "Why is that?" He pointed at the WEF logo and he said, "You're not a woman." So I felt a bit discriminated, actually. Well, I was thinking about what the power of the pack means, and actually now I realize what it is, because I'm a bit intimidated. When I was asked to speak about hospitality and women, obviously 70% of our workforce throughout our industry in tourism and travel are women. What I'm going to share with you is my personal point of view over the last 20 years in this industry. But I wanted to start out with one experience that made me realize that there's always different angles, because it's all about perspective, I guess. So after university, I wanted to stay in New York, and I started working as a butler at the St. Regis Hotel. And one of my first guests was Sir Elton John, and he stayed one of my regular guests for a year and a half, so I must say I almost became his personal butler. What I did not know was that everybody that is in his closer circle has a female name. So since my first name is Marcos, my Elton John name became Imelda, because they thought it was funny. So that's my first experience, to see things from a female perspective, the first year and a half of my work, of my career. Who would have thought where we get to? The second point of view that followed me throughout my life is maybe a bit more serious, because when you take a German, independent, well-studied woman and marry her to a Latino diplomat, you can almost see that there will be different perspectives coming together. So when my mom explained to me why they are not a team, they're friends but not a team anymore, she tried to make it soft, and she said that she was always put in a place where she actually was looking across the room at diplomatic events, and there were plenty, and she wanted to speak to those people over there about politics, about life, about the world, but she was always she was always put in that corner, which over the years obviously bored her marriage, and she decided to move on and move to that corner of her life. And as I said, they're still friends, but never worked as a team. So that made that separation actually quite soft for me, and gave me another perspective on how do you work together. Now, that was back in the 70s, 80s and 90s, and I think we've come already a long way, how things have changed. If I look at that and I take my wife and how we work as a team, she travels as much as I do, but we're in constant communication about being it advice or investments. We speak about all things, and it's always good to have a different perspective on these kind of topics. Now, when I talk about equality, I wanted to share a story. On my trips to Saudi Arabia, I was asked to speak in front of a group of people. So I end up in a room like this, and there was a wall, 1/4. And you can imagine what's going to happen now. So the women were sitting behind the wall on that side, and the men were sitting on that side. So I was walking up and down, trying to somehow see everyone. Thanks God I was allowed to see the ladies as well. When I came from there, I flew to Paris, and I was asked to speak to a hotel group that has a big board of women, because they put it on their mark that they are empowering women, they're having this conversation internally, and they make it a trademark. And I arrive, and I open the door, and there's 40 gentlemen sitting in that room. This is the leadership of that specific hotel. I'm not going to say the name, but I guess this applies to many companies throughout the world. And so I walk in, I open the door, and I thought I would make a joke, and I say, oh, the ladies are sitting in another room. What scared me the most, actually, was that nobody laughed, because they didn't even think it was a joke. So that's basically that day didn't go really well. As said, 70% of our industry are women, and if you take the leadership, in 2019 the numbers showed 25, and if you take HR out of that, because that's a very, until today, female part, it's even less than 20. So I think that the point I'm trying to make is, if you look at your own companies, being it a small local company or a global NASDAQ company, is it I always ask myself, looking at this topic, is it a marketing tool, or is it truly lived within your organization? And I think that makes the big difference between the companies, if it's small or big. I take an example of 15 years ago. We all know Fiji water. And if you go on the street now and you ask people, is Fiji water something good or clean? Probably 95% will tell you they have that picture in their head of this beautiful little lake, and the water in the bottle for 15 euros, half a liter. And so what they've done was actually amazing. We call it greenwashing. So they've taken the sustainability topic and created a brand out of it that actually sold even more before. And this is, throughout the year we've seen well-being washing, and now the last few minutes that I have wanted to speak about is equality washing. So ask yourself, within your own organization, is it truly lived, or is it really just marketing? And this brings me to my organization. I have the pleasure working with and for the Trump family for the last 6 years. And despite all odds, and I enjoy my travels throughout the world, because everybody at the end of the barbecue is standing around asking questions if I've met him or not. So you might think that public view on our organization is the way that is perceived on the media or so on. But I must say, we don't have those boards. We don't have round tables discussing how many women do we need. From the day Ivanka took the chair, and her 2 brothers, now she moved on, but she will come back, all my bosses are women. And we've never questioned it. It's something that comes natural to the organization. There's a respect of working. We get treated well, we treat other people well, and that's weird when I listen to other colleagues that actually have that issue. Mostly women, obviously, because they very often think they're not good enough. But that's for me, that's over the last 6 years, it's never been a topic, and that's why looking more into this made me be quite surprised to see how many bigger organizations actually have those roundtables, but they don't live it in their own day-to-day work. And that's the big problem that I find with equality. I think we all agree that more women in workplace, and I guess that through all industries, brings more perspectives and makes the team, I think somebody said before, makes the teams more successful as well. And that leads to better levels of production and even satisfaction at the end of the day. So basically we both need each other on the workspace to be better. But I think also having a South American background and having lived many years of my life in Arabic countries, I think it doesn't stop on equality of gender. We're talking about culture, educational backgrounds, and even age is becoming a topic more and more nowadays in our society, because people feel at a certain age that there's no space in our community anymore. And for anybody that is on a plane in the next few weeks, please watch The Intern. That's just a side note, it's a funny perspective on a serious topic. And to round up, I would go as far to consider myself a feminist, and I think all men should be. But no, it's just because I think that gender equality is not only a human right, but it's going to make our life more peaceful, thriving, and is for a sustainable world needed as well. So thank you for having me back in Slovenia.
Thank you, Marcos. You are a true ambassador for women worldwide. What a great supporter, what a great cheerleader for women. Thank you. Thank you for sharing also the very profound truths of your colorful, vibrant journey. I think you're a bit of a melting pot. You're South American, you've lived in the Middle East, it's a really interesting perspective of your journey. I think you're very blessed with all the experiences. Would like to invite a truly Slovenian gentleman at heart and spirit, welcoming Matej Regalik, the Chief Executive Officer of the Union Hotel Slovenia.
Thank you very much. Although I wear a Superman t-shirt, I come in peace, ladies. When I met Sasha a couple of days ago to discuss the topics of the lecture I'm having right now, she called me down. She said, there are no hidden agendas. I should speak freely about whatever I want connected to women. And I felt a warm, fuzzy feeling everything is going to be okay. I took a sip of my tea, but then she said a couple of seconds later, but be careful, there are 300 women listening to you. So here I am, 48 hours later. I've rewritten the speech several times. I try to think about some generic things, but in the end I ended up saying that the speech is about a thing I truly believe in. In my office I have a big poster which says, don't follow the crowd, let the crowd follow you. This is a very remarkable quote by Margaret Thatcher, who is not just a person you all know, but is a person which gives me inspiration and changed completely the way I perceive women. I don't know how much you know about her, but she definitely, I heard the word a few minutes ago, she really broke the ceiling, the thick ceiling of male-dominated society at the point in time in Great Britain. In 1959 she became one of the few members of the parliament in Britain. There were more Johns at that point in time than there were female members of parliament. In 1917 she became the first member of the cabinet of the British government. In 1979 she became the first British Prime Minister. And after that she achieved 3 consecutive victories, and she became the longest serving Prime Minister in the 150 years in Great Britain. I will not speak about her political agendas, which some may disagree on, but what I really like about her and what I admire about her is the type of leadership she had. She was a conviction politician, and she truly believed in the things she was doing. And she changed not only the political landscape in her own country, but she changed the political landscape in the world all around. And this is the dramatic impact she had, not only on her people, but also in the world. And at the end, this really changed my perception of how I perceive women as co-workers, as colleagues, as the people I work with. And at the end, we found out that in general, in our company, that for example, as Marcos mentioned, there is 70% of women working in the hotel industry. This is true, for sure, but on the operational level, housekeepers and so on, there are some jobs which are connected to women. But for example, in our hotels, 40% of board of directors are women. On the executive team level, the highest operational meeting we have, 60% of them are women. And it's not just because they are women. We truly believe that they add value, that they create value, and we as a team are better because we have women in our team. We truly believe this, and we not just believe but also lead this. So we do not differentiate when we look for jobs. When we look for job applicants, we don't look them being women or men. They are totally equal, and we truly believe in what we are saying. At the end, if I go back to Margaret Thatcher, one of her most well-known quotes was in 1967. She said this: "If you want anything said, ask a man, but if you want anything done, ask a woman." Thank you very much.
Thank you, Regelnik, Matai Regelnik, for inspiring us with your thoughts. We know that there was, in India last week, we had a Women Economic Forum, and we were talking to a lieutenant commander. She led a team of 6 women to circumnavigate the globe in a ship. She's from the Indian Navy. And she said when they got on that ship, their mentor told them that leave your gender at the door. And that's what you represented. When you say you have 40% women in your executive board of directors, they're there, not because they're women. They're there because they represent quality leadership. So we're going beyond the gender. We're talking about equality. We're talking about reclaiming sisterhood and brotherhood with love. That's what we're talking about. So thank you for that reverberating message. I'd like to welcome our last speaker for this session, representing yet another unique perspective of men and women collaborating to create more beauty in this world. Please join me in welcoming Sunil Hasmukh.
Thank you very much, MC. Ladies and gentlemen, my dear sisters, brothers, a few brothers here, and probably 2 at the back there. Could I please request all of you to stand up? You've been sitting for the last 2 hours or maybe an hour and a half. Too much of sitting will cause a bit of a trouble for the back. Okay. Could I invite you to find a partner each and face your partner? Right. Wonderful. Now, can I have the MC, beautiful MC, can I have you here? Just 1 second. Right, this is exactly what I would love you to do. person 1 will say 1, you will say 2, 3.
1,
2, 3, that's it. So I want the first person to say number 1, then go to number 2, then go back and say number 1 again, and repeat the process until I say stop. Go. Okay, bring that to a close. Now, let me introduce a little bit of a change. Number 1 will remain a verbal number 1. Number 2 will be now a clap. So you cannot say number 2, but you will actually clap your hand. And then number 3 will remain a number 3. So 1, 3, go. Number 1 will remain as number 1. Number 2 is a clap. And number 3 is stamp your feet. Those with high heels, don't do it so very heavily or very hardly. Don't injure your leg. You may start now. So 1, 2, 3, go. Sisters, dear friends, it is at probably the age of 1 or 2 years old we learn number 1, 2, 3. And today, at this point where we are all senior leaders, international speakers, CEOs, directors, owners of businesses, and when we have to do this activity, you notice that when we introduce a change, from the 1 to 2, you have to clap. And suddenly from a 3, you have to stamp your feet. It wasn't as easy as how it sounds. That is exactly how the journey of really helping people understand that men and women are equal. Women and men working together hand in hand can create magical experiences. However, because of history, it's always been the man dominating, and that is not what we want to do moving forward. Think of it for a moment. How powerful it is when a man and women comes together in a marriage, and as an outcome of that beautiful relationship, a new life can be born. A human being can be born on this Mother Earth. So now, if both has got such great potential, strengths, capabilities, how can we use this to drive business performance? How can we co-create success in organizations using the symbiotic thinking process, which is leveraging on strengths and focusing on solutions? Very often than not, we have now forgotten in our pursuit and in our rat race of life that we have started to forget the importance of a couple of important things, like looking at everything from an appreciative lens. We start looking at everyone around us, be it men or women, from a deficit lens. You may do 99 good things, and if you do one mistake, suddenly they will buy the most expensive magnifying glass, and that magnifying glass will be now focused only on that one thing that you did wrong, and that will be magnified tremendously. That is the smallest change we can start with. Let's appreciate, be it men or women, start appreciating each other for our strengths, our capabilities, our skills. And that's how would be a beautiful journey to be started in co-creating success. I would love to share with you a very powerful formula called RACE, R-A-C-E. See, I come from an engineering background, then I realized, sitting and playing with the machines and trying to fix the screws and all that is not my cup of tea. And thank goodness I got into what I'm doing now. And what I find will be very useful is to now give you that acronym, RACE. Why RACE? Because you and I are in this race of life. We are now caught in this rat race of life, and therefore respect. Respect, men or women, would be the easiest way to start building a very nurturing relationship. Appreciate. Let us appreciate one another for who we are. Let us focus on people's strengths and no longer look at weaknesses. C, conversations. Ask ourselves every day, what kind of conversations are we having? Are we having conversations to look at possibilities and create possibilities? Or are we looking at conversations and having conversations that drives negativity and causes a lot of stress and depression? And you can see that globally stress, depression is on a sharp rise. And finally, when you talk about conversations, let's make it a point and make it a commitment that our conversations will only focus on two things. Number one, strengths. Number two, being solution focused. And finally, E. E is about empathy. The only one skill that's going to drive mankind forward in the era of digitalization and technology, which is now taking over the world, is these heart-to-heart connections, the empathy relationship that we can build with one another. Dear sisters, I wish you all the best, and let's create a world where men and women can sincerely work together, holding hands together and creating an impactful life ahead. Because at the end of the day, let's remember one thing. We came to this world literally naked. Some of you here are mothers, you know how you brought a child out. And when we leave this world, we take absolutely nothing. So, let's create a legacy. Let's create an impactful, meaningful life before we leave. And last but not least, let us aspire to inspire before we all expire. Thank you.
Thank you, Sunil, for your very sweet nuggets of chewable goodness. Thank you for that exercise, for re-energizing us. So you really are Hasmukh Rai. That's your dad. But you embody that energy. What I was referring to in our language, in Hindi, Hasmukh is somebody who's like a jester, who brings laughter, who brings a certain level of joyousness. So I was telling him that that's what you brought to us today. So thank you for being joy in spirit. And thank you for that new acronym of RACE. Because because we're always talking about being go-getters, since it used to be. And now it's gotten replaced, and you helped us today, with go-giver, offer. What do you have to offer rather than take? So thank you for helping us come to that realization. So ladies and gentlemen, women supporting women, we know is magical. We've been talking about this. It's incredible beyond. But when men support women, transformation happens. Please put your hands together for these supporters and leaders of women worldwide. Would you please, brothers, come together for a group photograph? Praveen, would you like to join us for a photo? Yeah, okay.